A very good evening and a warm welcome to all our esteemed guests and to dear learners. I'm Dr. Ria Tukral from the Homeopathic Academy by PGNRX, and we are here today to discuss a very practical and essential topic, conquering infertility with clinical homeopathy with Dr. Nikunj Trivedi. He will give us a glimpse of his famous work and protocol for infertility treatment today. We have Dr. Nikunj Trivedi live with us right now. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Nikunj Trivedi to you all, our renowned speaker for today. So, talking about Dr. Nikunj Trivedi, our speaker for today, he is well known for his work in infertility and more. So, let us know a little about him. So, as you can see on your screen, Dr. Nikunj began his career as a medically qualified homeopath, ranking first in university, and has been practicing homeopathy since 1980 in India and from 2004 in United Kingdom. He's currently based in Leicester, UK, from where he runs his very busy clinical practice with his wife, Dr. Amita. He has been involved in treating infertility and chronic cases with his wide experience of modern medical investigations, combining with homeopathic totality to prove effectiveness to restore the abnormal pathology to normal physiology. In his career of, 40 years now, he has treated a wide spectrum of patients from all over the world. His articles are published in various journals. He has written 4 books on the subject. His contributions are also present in Radar Opus as the Repertory of Infertility and Materia Medica of Sexual Disorders, which is available in Radar Opus. And he holds lifetime membership of HMAI and GHMA India. He has joined the HMA UK in 2004. He holds several charity clinics, regularly participates in Homeopathic Awareness Week. So if you need to know a little more about him, you can also visit his website, www.arthiclinic.com. And on these slides, you can also see the books that Dr. Nikunj has authored. Some of the names are Repertory of Infertility, Materia Medica of Sexual Disorders, Sperm Disorders and Homeopathy, Mind at Menopause, which is under publication, and Power of H, again under publication. So that's all about us. Dr. Trivedi, can we please have you here with us? Please come live with us so that everybody can see you.
Yeah, yes. Namaskar to everyone, because it's good morning over here and good evening in India. I'm going to speak something on infertility. Infertility is a burning issue. When patient comes to you, patient straight away can't come to you. Patient always undergo several investigations and then patient comes to you. At that time, patient sometimes might not be knowing that what problem, whether it's a problem with the male part or it's a female part. And it becomes our immense duty to guide the patient. And after guiding the patient, first of all, we should know that in which way we have to guide the patient. Infertility is such a subject. It's not an easy subject because you can just guide. Rest of the things in patient's hand. When you guide the patient, you need some investigations. You need some clinical reports. And for that, I have given the name to this webinar as a Conquering Infertility with Clinical Homeopathy. I will share one case with you later, but just now we'll have some basic concept to be cleared with the infertility. So mankind has never devised better tool for solving the mystery of the universe than science. However, homeopathy is such a consultant, and homeopathy is such a science, and we always consider that it is an art. Homeopathy is an art rather than science. which answers all the unexplained questions. When you will find that there is a sort of a idiopathic cause, homeopathic comes into picture, and the idiopathic cause means there is no explanation for that cause. The homeopath will dig down the root cause of the condition, and then homeopath will find that this is the thing which is causing a problem. And our master Hahnemann has explained the things in nice way, that we have to find the root cause, we have to find the causative factor, we have to find the maintenance cause, and all this comes under obstacles to cure. So in terms of defining the infertility, so in terms of definition of infertility, how infertility can be defined? It's a failure by a couple to conceive after 1 year of unprotected intercourse. After successful marriage life, if patient having a regular relation, and if doing a regular relation for 1 year, and if they doesn't get any result when they plan to start a family, and when it doesn't work, at that time they start seeking the medical advice. So when they start seeking the medical advice, usually they go to the gynecologist first. When gynecologists try to investigate the patient by sending the male part and female part, means male patient and female patient, for different type of investigations. So in my protocol, when patient comes to you, I always advise to investigate first male part. Gynecologist, when the couple is visiting the gynecologist, gynecologist will start investigating the patients in a different way. But when patient comes to you after having all the investigations, everything, then I would strongly recommend to investigate male part first, because semen is very important thing to investigate. If male patient has some problem, then you can start rectifying the problem with the male part rather than treating the female first. Because in my practice, I have seen a patient, that male patient always deny that, no, I don't want to undergo any investigations, I am okay. So in terms of infertility, it's a failure by a couple to conceive after 1 year of when the couple fails to get the desirable result of starting a family after 1 year of their successful and healthy marriage life, they start getting investigations with the gynecologist. They start consulting the gynecologist or andrologist, and when they find that there is a problem, and after having treatment with the gynecologist, they don't get solution with the problem, and the problem persists, then they come to the alternative route. Straight away, not a single patient will come to a homeopath, because homeopathy is such a science that when patient gets tired with all the allopathic and conventional treatment, then they seek the help from the homeopath. And this is the charm of homeopath. Homeopathy having a answer for unanswered query by our allopathic consultant. So in terms of vital statistics, if we consider the vital statistics with infertility, then 30% of infertility factors are related with the female, means female factors. Remaining 30% is related with the male partner, related with the spermatogenesis and all. Rest of the 25% factors are unexplained. They don't have any explanation. 10% factors are combined factors, where male and female, both partners get involved at some point. The rest of the 5% due to other causes, and we don't have any scientific basis to explain that cause. So that again falls in a sort of unexplained factors. So in terms of factors, vital statistics has shown that these are the factors: 30% male, 30% female, 25% factor are unexplained. 5% factors are due to other causes, and remaining 10 factors are combined factors. So what are the factors which are influencing the infertility? This is very important. The factors which are influencing the infertility is the diet. So the root cause is here. You can see in a slide that when the Adam and Eve, they ate the apple, and beginning of the problem has started. Next, please. So one of the basic property of life is reproduction, which is only possible with the sex. And research have suggested that sex is an important and vital part of life and its biological need. It's a state of well-being and harmony. It allows a man to enjoy sexual activity and reproduction. It relieves the stress. It improves the intimacy, and it lowers the diastolic blood pressure. It helps in burning calories, boosting the self-esteem and self-confidence. Secondly, it boosting up the immunity. It increases the immunity by increasing the level of IgA, that is called the immunoglobulin A. And it works as a painkiller. It strengthens the pelvic floor muscle and reduces the risk of prostate cancer in male patient. Sexual intimacy and orgasm increases the level of oxytocin, which can help in bonding and building up that trust. So these are the uncontrollable and uncountable benefit of sex. When couple having this normal sex life and they doesn't get the result, the problem with the infertility and investigations will start. Next, please. Yes. Now let us start with infertility. In terms of definition, the definition of infertility says failure by a couple to conceive after 1 year of unprotected intercourse. Medically defined as an inability to conceive after multiple sustained attempts of unprotected intercourse for at least 12 months. And infertility has increased by 4% since 1980. So I always joke in my presentation that since I started my practice, infertility patients has increased. And so I'm practicing more on infertility. Next, please. Yes. Just now we have discussed the vital statistics, so just skip it. Yes. And we have also discussed about the factors influencing the infertility. Our master, Dr. Hahnemann, has given about the clear idea about root cause, causative factor, predisposing factor, and maintaining cause in organ of medicine. So environment is also affecting on the fertility. In a country like UK, weather is affecting. Country like USA, Canada, Western countries, they will get more number of infertility and problem with the libido because of the weather, because of the diet. So that is one of the important factor, that environmental factor, exposure to carbon in India, in China, chemicals. Sometimes the plaster wall is containing certain type of chemicals in a house, and that chemical is also responsible for causing infertility. Diet, meat, frozen food, processed food, tinned food, it is also causing a problem with the sperm production and with the ovulation. Habits, recreational sources like coffee, alcohol, drugs, and certain type of medication. Because right now I have seen in the news that people are taking more and more alcohol during this pandemic over here. Because they are at home, working from home, they want to relax. And that's why the consumption of alcohol has increased, especially in Western countries. Heterogenic causes means it is caused by the physician, caused by the medicine. Say, for example, a young lady haven't started her period and she is facing a menstruation problem like a scanty menses, PMT symptoms like premenstrual tension symptoms. At that time, majority of the time I have seen that general practitioners are prescribing them a hormonal pills, that is contraceptive pills, which leads to the polycystic ovary at later stage. So that is called the heterogenic factor. If any investigation has been done by one of the gynecologists And if that investigation, like laparoscopy, hysteroscopy, such type of intervention has caused sort of a fibrosis, and that is also leading to infertility. That is called the heterogenic causes. Contraceptive pills to regulate menstruation in young girls that I have discussed. Contraception after marriage for family planning. Pills to delay the menstruation. I have seen in India, when I was practicing in India, that if any religious ceremony is being taking place at home, at that time, lady patient used to request that, can you please prescribe something to delay my menstruation? And such type of things has caused a sort of a polycystic ovary or some ovarian dysfunction, and that is also resulting into the infertility. Late marriage, with the advancement of the age in both partners, insecurity about relationship, especially in Western countries, and stress at different level, financial, social, domestic, work or career related stress, ambitions. These all are stress related things which is releasing more adrenaline, and that adrenaline is suppressing all other hormones like estrogen and testosterone, and that's why patient is facing infertility problem. Next, please. Okay, now when you are treating infertility, at that time you might come across, and sometimes patients have done a lot of investigations, and when they come to you at that time, they are quite aged, and they ask that whether we will be able to have a biological child. So in that terms, let me explain that like female menopause, there is no sudden collapse in sex hormone in male, and there is no age bar to be a father for male partner. Here I have given one example, that Mr. Ramjit Raghav, born on 1916, and he died on 11th of February 2020. He was an Indian wrestler and farmer who was claimed by various media outlets as the world's oldest father. He claimed to have had his first child with his wife at the age of 94. He fathered a second child at the age of 96. So for male patients, spermatogenesis has always ongoing process. It has not been affected in some exceptional cases. This Ramjit Raghav, he was a vegetarian who claimed to engage in a sexual intercourse around 3 times a day, and he was the oldest father, and that's the world record that media has postulated. Next, please. Okay, now let us take example of our master, Dr. Hahnemann. Dr. Hahnemann's research on cinchona, effect on human body by self-application, gave birth to homeopathy, and our Dr. Hahnemann has also given a birth to 11 children. Their marriage produced 11 children. And this thought came to my mind, that why Hahnemann has produced 11 children? And I was just researching about the cinchona, and I found a very shocking truth about the cinchona. Next, please. I found one research paper on ResearchGate website. Use of cinchona on semen, on sperm production. That data showed that the supplementing diet with different level of cinchona bark resulted in improved all semen characteristic. When compared with those of the control group, some sperm concentration and viability were significantly increased by adding various level of cinchona bark compared to those of the control. So this has been research conducted at one point at Bahaj strain on the rooster, on the cock. So they found that sperm motility is recognized one of the most important criteria of semen quality and a determinant in the success of fertilization. So this has sparked the thoughts in my mind that cinchona having a potentiality to improve the quality of semen, spermatogenesis, and motility of the sperm. Next, please. Okay, now we will evaluate the infertility problems on emotional aspect, miasmatic aspect, clinical aspect, and homeopathic aspect. we have to consider all the aspects when you are treating the patients on homeopathic ground. We should not miss any aspect because emotional is a very important factor. And myism is also very important. Then we'll go on clinical, and then we'll discuss about some homeopathic aspect. Next slide, please. Let me describe a little bit about the emotional. When lady having a infertility issue, especially she feels emotionally down, she feels low, she is losing self-confidence, and it's a social taboo in India. And in case of male, when they come to know that they're having a problem with their sperm, it's a male ego which is always hurting them. You can make it out when the couple enters in your room, and when you just observe them, with the observation, you can make it out that yes, this couple came for the infertility consultation, but the male partner having an issue because the body language, the way they show the gesture, the way he shows to open up with the consultant, the way he's looking down to the floor, and sometimes they try to escape to give the symptoms. So emotional aspect is very, very important, and just take the patient in a confidence, male patient in confidence, talk them in personally, allowing his wife to sit outside in a waiting room or reception room and just ask that, do you have any problem? Do you have any issue? You can discuss freely with me. And then slowly he will open up and he will tell about all his complaints. So the emotional aspect is very vital. And if patient having a lot of suppressed emotions, exploitations, humiliations, it is affecting the self-esteem. So emotional factor should not be missed at any cost. Ignatia, Staphylococcus aureus, Agnus castus, these are the very good medicine to give the boost to the patient to come out from the emotional outbreak. Now we are discussing about the miasmatic evaluation and analysis of sexual symptom. So when patient comes to you, when you find that patient is a psoric type, most of the psoric sexual symptoms I described over here, that all functional and psychological menstrual disorder with a female patient. Dysfunctional uterine bleeding, discharge, leukorrhea is always blunt. This is very important. Psoric discharge is always blunt. Syphilitic discharge is always acrid. And that we'll discuss in syphilitic sexual symptoms. So psoric discharge are always blunt. Patient having a complaint of sexual weakness and weakness of sexual organs due to prolonged suffering of exhaustive disease, excessive and very high sexual desire, and this patient having a full moon and new moon aggravation. Okay, now we are discussing the syphilitic sexual symptoms. Syphilitic patients, if just have a look, the evil force is affecting the patient's body. So the syphilitic patient is always affected by some destructive pathology. And that's why patient having a complaint of inability to perform. So majority of the syphilitic patients are complaining of erectile dysfunction. They're having a decreased sexual desire. In psoric patient, they're having a high sexual desire, but they don't able to perform. Here, syphilitic patient having a decreased sexual desire means low libido. Syphilitic patient having a tendency for the destruction. And that's why patient having all form of cancer, penis, uterus, breast involvement with offensive discharge per vagina, offensive odor per vagina, vaginitis, hypersensitive vagina, and fainting after periods. This syphilitic patient is always having a depression associated with fear during menses and recurrent abortion because of the syphilitic trend. In male patient, you will find azoospermia because of the destructions, and we'll discuss that part later in. Okay, now regarding psychotic sexual symptoms, psychotic means overgrowth of the tissue. Mind always concentrate on sexual organs and sexual fancies. All the time, patient having that lascivious thoughts in the mind. Here, psychotic patient having acridiuria. It smells like a fish brine or putrid udder. Psychotic patient has sterility and infertility. This patient always complain about fibroid in uterus, testicular tumor, testicular torsion, hyperprolactinemia, various menstrual disorder, menorrhagia, metrorrhagia, and polymenorrhea. Psychotic patient having itching at the private parts, itching at the pudenda, pruritus vulva, and complaint of mastodynia. Because of the tumor in the breast, overgrowth of the tissue in a breast, patient having get that pain, and that pain is described by the patient as something is not comfortable, and medically we use the term mastodynia. Psychotic patient having a very offensive menses. It smells like fish brine, and these patients, female patients, having a stains of the menses, difficult to wash off. Right now, nobody's using the clothes. Everybody's using this sanitary napkin and tampons, and also it's very difficult to find this. But during the time of Hanuman, it has been used. The cloth has been used, and the clothes were being reused as well. So you'll find the rubric like this: stains of the menses, difficult to wash in repertory. And psychotic patient get mental weakness during leukorrhea. So this patient got leukorrhea, staining, smell which is fish brine-like. Next slide, please. Tubercular symptoms. Tubercular sexual symptom shows spermatoria in male patient. Patient having a tendency for the masturbation and loss and lack of all enthusiasm. Patient having a depression, weakness of memory, emission of semen during defecation or micturition. When patient is exerting any strain at the time of defecation or at the time of urination, patient can see the passage of semen in the stool at the time of stool and at the time of urine. Tubercular patient having a uterine, ovarian, and all applied complication. This patient having a profound weakness. If we look at the tubercular makeup, patient is lean, thin, cachectic, wasting, patient is losing the weight. And in India, majority of the tubal block is contributing to the tuberculosis. Endometrial tuberculosis is one of the cause for the tubal block. Patient bleeding continues or persists for a long time, and it recurs again and again. Patient is developing diarrhea, fever, visual and auditory hallucinations. Patient hears voices. Patient smells, though there is nothing, but still patient smells that something is going over there. Okay, patient is anorexic, patient is nauseous, patient having a vomiting during menses. And when patient having this type of symptoms, we should always look for the IgG, IgM for the tuberculosis. Okay, now we will discuss about the clinical aspect of male part of infertility. Next slide, please. So when patient comes to you, male patient comes to you, and when patient is coming with all the investigations and all the reports, you will be able to see all this condition, that is aspermia, means complete absence of semen. Aspermia means complete absence of semen. Azoospermia means absence of sperm. So this is the difference between aspermia and azoospermia. Asthenozoospermia means low motility. Patient having a not enough number of sperm. Patient having a low number of sperm or enough number of sperm, but patient having a low motility. So sperms are not able to move that quickly. Azoospermia means absence of sperm cell in semen. Hyperspermia means large semen volume. Hypospermia means small semen volume. Oligospermia means few spermatozoa in semen, very few. And oligospermic patient can be treated very nicely. with the help of homeopathic medicine. Necrospermia means dead or immotile sperm. Teratospermia means sperm with abnormal morphology, sometimes two heads, broken tails. So these are the abnormality of the sperm morphology. And Biospermia means sperm in pus in semen. Biospermia means pus in semen. So when the semen has been examined at that time, in the semen report, you will find that pus concentration is very, very high. So what are the important investigations for male patient? If the andrologist or gynecologist has done the enough investigation, then it's okay for you to find the right remedy and to diagnose the right condition. But when it has not been done completely, then you can suggest some lab investigations to the patient. And semen examination is very, very important to diagnose the clinical condition that what I have described just now, and it is described on slide as well. So semen is very, very important thing to decide. And when you advise a semen examination, 4 days abstinence is very important. Hormonal assay like FSH, LH, testosterone, anti-Mullerian hormone, and testicular Doppler is very important. Next slide, please. So with homeopathic approach, let us understand some rubrics clinically. Before I created a repertoire of infertility, I was just struggling to find a rubric like aspermia or azoospermia or oligospermia, oligoasthenospermia, antisperm antibodies. So I have created a repertoire of infertility, and I have collaborated with Radar Opus. So once you go to my repertoire, you will be able to find all these rubrics, all these symptoms, and all the right remedy along with the clinical condition. Aspermia means complete lack of seminal fluid and sperms. And here you can select the rubric that atrophic testis, inflammation of the testis, injury to the testis, induration of the testis, and ejaculations absent. Because of all these conditions, aspermia happens. So you have to take in a reverse way. At the time of Hahnemann, investigations were not available. He was a good observer, and he wrote everything in homeopathy with his observation skill. And right now, if we compare his observation with the clinical condition, the treatment becomes easy with the homeopathy. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now let us understand the rubric azoospermia, because there are 2 types of azoospermia. One is obstructive and another one is non-obstructive. With the obstructive azoospermia, you will be able to see the hydrocele, varicocele, like commonly found condition in a male, which can lead to the sperm disturbances. And if you look at the non-obstructive azoospermia, then you will be able to find the atrophy of the testis, atrophy of the testis after sexual excess, ejaculation, absent ejaculation is difficult, enlarged spermatic cord, enlarged testis, right or left, and accordingly we can select the right side having a different affinity of certain medicine and left side having a different affinity of certain medicine. So this is very important part, because in the next slide I will be able to explain that why left side is important for varicocele. So erection is fruitless, erection wanting, firmness increased of the testis, and hematocele, hydrocele. So these are the causes for the non-obstructive azoospermia, and accordingly we have to select the remedy, which I have explained in my repertoire of infertility in a male part. Next slide, please. Okay, now let us take one example of the obstructive azoospermia due to varicocele. First of all, look at the picture that how varicocele looks. And what is varicocele? It's a cystic accumulation of blood in the spermatic cord. Most common anatomical abnormality of the veins, especially pampiniform plexus. It is mostly found on the left side, where spermatic vein empties in the left renal vein. So knowledge of anatomy is very, very important over here. And that's why Dr. Hahnemann has explained in Organon of Medicine about the knowledge of physician and knowledge of disease and drug. So the left side, where spermatic veins empties in the left renal vein, chances of varicocele is very, very high on the left side rather than right. In short, varicocele causes insufficient drainage of the blood from the testis that causes excessive pooling of the blood, resulting into the higher intrascrotal temperature. So when the intrascrotal temperature is very, very high, it kills the sperm. It affects the spermatogenesis. And if you want to find a rubrics for the varicocele, then straightaway you will get a rubric varicocele, but pain in scrotum, then swelling of the scrotum, varicocele, scrotum skin color blue, swelling, scrotum after straining, and homeopathic remedies, you know well that Aesculus, mother tincture, belladonna, calcarea carp, hemamelis, ruta, pulsatilla, lyco, and cilicia. Cilicia is a very good remedy, and I have given a very good results with the cilicia, because cilicia having a tendency to remove the water retention. Next slide, please. This is another factor which is affecting infertility, but today we are not going to discuss much about it. So erectile dysfunction, just keep in your mind, and this can cause short of infertility. Next slide, please. These are the type of erectile dysfunction that I have described over, that is lifelong, acquired, situational, and generalized. Okay, next slide, please. And the causes of erectile dysfunction, that is neurogenic, pelvic injury, pelvic trauma, surgery or radiation. A patient having a prostatic hyperplasia, benign prostatic hyperplasia, and patient is undergoing a surgery, then it may lead to a short of erectile dysfunction. Cavernous muscle is a main muscle of the penis, and Peyronie disease is one of the cause of, it's an abnormal curvature, and that is one of the cause of the erectile dysfunction. Hormonal imbalance, circulation or arterial disorder, that is the peripheral vascular disease. Cardiovascular cause, hypertension, psychological causes, panic disorder, apprehension, anticipation, anxiety neurosis, performance anxiety, heterogenic causes with certain medications, antihypertensive, diabetic treatment, SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors like Prozac and all, because it has been said that in UK, majority of the people are taking Prozac, and Prozac has been consumed a lot because everybody gets stressed very easily. So this is also one of the factors of erectile dysfunction and infertility over here. So and another factor is a post-surgical or reconstructive surgery, advancement of the age, habits, as we have discussed earlier, that recreational use, tobacco, smoking, these all are causing a vasoconstriction and vasospasm. And these are all the predisposing factor which our master has given more importance to consider the obstacle to the cure. And we, as a homeopath, it's our duty to remove the obstacles and to consider the predisposing causes as well. Next slide, please. Some useful homeopathic remedies for sexual disorder that I have given in a brief. Agnus castus, anacardium, argentum nitricum, caladium, conum maculatum, diascorea, and cilicia. Next slide, please. These are also some useful remedy which I am using since past 40 years in my practice. Phosphoric acid is giving excellent result in oligoasthenospermia. Titanium, too early ejaculations. Tribulus terrestris. This is a very good medicine which increases the testosterone level. Not a single medicine can increase the testosterone except ready-made testosterone patch, but that can cause nausea, vomiting, a lot of side effects. But testosterone, if you find that patient has a low testosterone level, and if you prescribe a Tribulus mother tincture, it is definitely going to increase the testosterone level. Lycopodium is very good medicine for the erectile dysfunction. Orchitinum, It's very good remedy for the azoospermia, Mangifera indica. It's very good remedy for the varicocele, and potash xanthi. It's very good remedy for the impotence. Next slide, please. Okay, skip this, please. Skip as well. Okay, now I'm coming to a point where observation. As a physician, as a homeopath, it's our duty to observe the patient and to take a history in a right way. Next slide, please. Observe this couple for constitutional purpose. Have a quick look. Next slide, please. Okay, this patient, because we are running a shortage of the time. Initially, it has been short of some disturbances with the network and all. So I will just going very quick. So patient attended my clinic with a chief complaint of secondary or subfertility, unable to conceive after several years of various treatment from conventional to IVF. Patient has undergone IVF. So history of heavy and painful menstrual period with acne on face before and during period. Breast always painful. Presence of discharge in the mid-cycle. This is very important. Since 2 to 3 years, along with severe leg cramps, patient as she can't stand for a while. Unable to stand. Presence of discharge from the breast in mid-cycle, leukorrhea white and yellow with itching at right parts, and also foul smelling, falling of the hair from scalp, swelling on face, feet and ankles, and dyspnea on exertion. Next slide, please. Associated symptoms that what the lady gave, that's abnormal craving for raw uncooked rice. Raw uncooked rice and sweets. Voluptuous grinding of teeth. She was deliberately grinding her teeth during day and in sleep as well. Recurrent cystitis, burning urination was made her to scream before urination. Pain in left iliac fossa with remarkable tenderness. No sexual desire. Complete absence of libido because of the pain and tenderness in left iliac fossa, painful breast, and she had a depression as well. Because of a lot of things were going on, a lot of investigation has been done, IVF has been done. She lost her money because IVF remained unsuccessful. And in India, you know, the IVF is costing, at that time, it was costing a lot of money, about 2 to 3 lakhs rupees. And strongly lunging for the hair. This is the obsession. She has developed an obsession that she was constantly lunging for the baby, and she was looking to someone else having a baby. She becomes disturbed. She was very obstinate, argumentative for IVF treatment with husband. Her husband was intending to that, okay, let us have IVF, but she was not ready, because after all, it's a psychological trauma to a female when IVF fails. And second thing, when the lady is undergoing all the invasive process to have a baby, it's a sort of a trauma, mental trauma. So she became slow and sluggish with severe mental and financial shock with unsuccessful IVF. She having a weeping tendency, weeping due to unsuccessful IVF made. She used to like company and seeking assurance. And she was remembering the long past hurts by others. And so the couple separated from the joint family. So this all the history I took, and I have just highlighted certain things. Okay, next slide, please. So now, constitution. If you observe the lady, her constitution is hydrogenoid, fair, fat, flabby, with moon face. Tendency to retain water, as she was given a lot of hormones during fertility treatment, and with that, she has a water retention. Myasm, psora and syphilis. It's a combined complex, and diaphysis was leukophlegmatic. Thermal reaction, she was very chilly. Susceptibility, hypersensitive to every change of atmosphere and family circumstances, because she was developing a rash, itching, and with the slightest provocation, she was getting hurt very easily. She was sensitive to many things, So her idiosyncrasy was very high, and that's why she was getting allergic reaction. She was developing articular rash randomly, irrespective of anything. She was developing allergic rash. So it's a sort of reaction to the psychological factor as well as to the physical factor. With the food, with certain type of medications, with a certain type of comments, with certain type of exploitation, she was developing allergic rash. So there was a high idiosyncrasy. And family history: grandmother hypertensive, father hypertensive, mother hypertensive, plus gout, and no fertility problem she had in her family. Next slide, please. Past history: in childhood, she had a known rash all over her body, which she is getting occasionally sometime. This is very important. Rash in the childhood. Now, she is getting occasionally sometime random rash all over the body. In 1995, she married to Mr. Nilesh Patel, having a normal sexual life, very healthy, lean, tall, tubercular type patient. You have seen in the picture as well. Husband, his semen examination done thrice, and it was more than normal every time. So male part has been ruled out over here. She had a history of 3 months amenorrhea in 1998, but pregnancy was not confirmed by the test, and that has suggested a blighted ovum. The ovum was blighted, means there was no cardiac activity. So it is as good as no further carrying out of the pregnancy. In 1999, she was diagnosed with the blighted ovum with the low HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. In 1999, on 13th of January, exploratory laparotomy was done at local gynecological hospital for removing the endometrial adhesions and correcting tuboplasty. Because with this, she had a tubal block that I will show you in the next slide. In 2000, 1st August, IVF done at local IVF center in Gujarat, but she remained unsuccessful. So patient decided to go for an alternative option for fertility treatment, and then they started to come to see me. Next slide, please. Investigation has shown that her thyroid profile and complete blood count was normal. Urine test mild albuminuria. There was a presence of albumin. Serological test had shown gross abnormal level of rubella IgG. Rubella immunoglobulin G level was very, very high. And on 13th of March 2000, HCG was done, and that has shown the endometrial adhesions, irregularity of uterine cavity, left-sided fallopian tube, which was completely concealed, can't see, and mild and proximal portion of the right-sided tube is seen, distal portion of the left-sided tube is not seen, so spillage on the right side, possibility of right side fimbrial and regional block, and there was a severe venous intravasation of contrast, suggestive of left tubal cornual block. Next slide, please. So this is the X-ray report of HSG. Filling defect in uterine cavity, endometrial adhesions, irregular uterine cavity, and possibility of right-sided fimbrial and regional block. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the follicular study. I have suggested that better we check your ovulation. On 1st of May 2000, on 14th day, there was no follicle, and endometrial thickness was very thin, only 3 millimeter. Ideally, it should be around 12 millimeter. On 15th day, no follicle and no free fluid in pouch of Douglas. So it has suggested an ovulatory cycle, means patient is not able to ovulate. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Her blood report for the fertility panel has shown that luteinizing hormone was very, very low, 1.4, and estradiol was 0.3 picogram per ml. That was also very, very low. This has been done on 18th of July, right? So the LH and estradiol is that it was very, very low. Now, next slide, please. LH is a hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary. An acute rise of LH triggers ovulation. But as she haven't had any ovulation, so this has confirmed that low luteinizing hormone is suggestive of ovulatory failure. Next slide, please. And this is the blood result for the TORCH test. TORCH. TORCH means toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalo, and herpes. And in this slide, you can see the rubella IgG was very, very high. It is 87.08. And cytomegalovirus was 17.02. That was also very, very high. Rubella should be 0 to 10. And cytomegalo concentration should be 0 to 0.25. Next slide, please.
Yes, I've changed the slide.
No, that's good.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see. Rubella was 87.08 and cytomegalo was 17.02 when we first tested her for the TORCH test. Okay, now let us go to another slide. Next slide. So I have selected Calcarea carb. Why? Because constitution was hydrogenoid, fair, fat, flabby, with rounded, moon face, tendency to retain water, and generalized swelling. Compatibility. Husband was tubercular and wife Calcarea. And generality, scrofulous, diathesis, leukophlegmatic, obese, fair, fat, flabby, overweight, and her BMI, basal metabolic rate, was very high, and BMI was more than 31. Body mass index was 31. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now coming to the thermal reaction. Thermal reaction means she was very chilly, feels too much cold because of the low immunity. Seropositivity to rubella IgG antibodies makes her to feel chilly. This is very important. When she having a rubella immunoglobulin antibodies, IgG was high, and that antibodies were making her to feel chilly. And bad effect of childhood skin eruptions has confirmed that she must had a rubella infection. So bad effect of childhood skin eruptions and bad effect of conventional fertility treatment causing water retention, and bad effect of laparotomy has caused the short of adhesions. Her susceptibility, as she was low-spirited, hypersensitivity to every changes of atmosphere, family matters, catches infections very easily like cystitis, cervicitis, giardiasis, moniliasis, and endometritis because she having a discharge which is foul smelling. And she never well since fertility treatment. These are the causative factor. Never well since IVF. She started retaining water due to leukorrhea. She catches retrograde urinary tract infection, cystitis, and endometritis. And she became slow, sluggish after IVF. Allergic reaction to many, many things. Develops urticarial rash abruptly. Causes latent rubella. And PQRS. This is very important. Abnormal craving and grinding uncooked rice was voluptuous to her. She was feeling pleasure by eating a raw uncooked rice. And this is abnormal craving. That is called the PICA, P-I-C-A. It's a very prominent symptoms of Calcarea. Next slide, please. So this PQRS has made me to think on Calcarea, water retention, moon phase, random skin rash. These are all made me to think about Calcarea. And Calcarea is a very good remedy for hormonal imbalance. So considering the posology to remove the bad effect of surgery and for the exploratory laparotomy, tuboplasty, DNC, HSC, everything she has undergone. So I selected Staphysagrija 1 1 dose per week and Calcarea carb 1 4 pills morning, 4 pills evening, every week for 8 weeks. Belladonna 200 and Rustock 200 combinations, 4 pills morning, 4 pills evening for 8 weeks, and Pulsatilla mother tincture 10 drops to be diluted in a glass of water. to rule out rubella infection, because Pulsatilla mother tincture is a very good remedy for the rubella infection. Shingles, very good remedy for the shingles as well. And this Pulsatilla is complementary to Calcarea. Complementary to Calcarea are Belladonna as well, Rustrops as well, Lyco and Silicia. But I have selected two remedies, that is Pulsatilla and Belladonna. Okay, next slide, please. After this treatment protocol, if you compare the two results, then rubella has completely cured. On 12th of March, you can see the rubella concentration was 87.08. And now rubella has gone to 1.54. So how the Calcarea, the Pulsatilla has worked? There is no harm in using a multiple remedy, because I'm using polypharmacy many times in my patient. I don't use single remedy because patient doesn't have that much of patience. They have already spent a lot of money, energy, efforts, and when they are just approaching the age, they become a bit impatient. So to give a quick and better results, if I use a multiple 2 to 3 remedies at a time, it definitely cuts short the period of treatment. And this is my protocol, that's what I'm following. I don't know about others, that whether they like it or not. But so far my patients likes that, and so far I'm getting results, I'm doing that. Okay, next slide, please. So now the follow-up. The patient started showing significant improvement in her menstrual period. Ovulation was established. Her breast pain was completely gone. She started feeling more energetic, vital, enthusiastic. She regained her normal sexual drive with no discharge per vaginum. And we advise her to continue 4 to 6 follicular scan to observe normal ovulation pattern. Means 4 to 6 months. Hormonal assay was also within normal range. Homeopathically, I was very confident about the outcome of the treatment. And on one day, please change the slide. This is the way how we can conquer the complicated case of infertility with homeopathy, with a lot of multiple pathological derangement. Patient has loads and loads of pathological derangement. Gross pathological change has been taken place with the conventional treatment, adhesions, then anovulations, rubella, everything. But if you select a well-selected right remedy, then homeopathy can make a wonders to patient's life. And my patient has quoted me that you are adding a patient's life alive. And still I remember that, yes, it's true. When I'm treating patients of infertility, when they come to me, when I investigate them completely, and when we found the root cause of the problem, and if we select the right remedy with the repertorizations, with the PQRS, with the concomitant, and with the miasm, medicine definitely works, and patient always blessed with the homeopathy. So this is all my presentation about infertility, male and female part, and I hope you have enjoyed it. No doubt I have taken a little more time because of some technical glitch, but hope you would have enjoyed that. And these are my books that initially Dr. Ria has introduced to you, and you can get this book from Amazon and directly from the publisher. Homeopathic awareness we are conducting. When I visit India, we do the charity camps and all. We treat the patient, we teach the student, and for the genuinely clinical homeopathic application, we also conduct a short of charity clinics at my clinic regularly. Okay. And really, I'm highly thankful to Dr. Ria. She has taken a lot of pain, and to the BJNRX.
Thank you so much, sir. The session was very enlightening. We learned a lot from you today. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. thanks to you. And dear learners, we are running out of time like a lot, but if you have a quick question, you can send it like right now so that we can quickly take one or two questions if that's all right, sir. I know you have your patients waiting, but will it be all right?
Yeah. If anybody having any questions, they can email me on
Yes, sir.
articlinic@yahoo.com, nikunj@articlinic.com. I am always ready to help all my homeopaths whenever it is possible. If there is any difficult case, I can provide a free advice, and I'm always happy to help homeopaths.
Thank you so much, sir. So you heard Dr. Nikunj, you can send your questions, your doubts, anything to him, and he'll help you with it. He's our teacher, and he will help you with any doubt you have. So let's not take up any more time, any more of his patient time. We don't want to do that. Let's wind up here then, sir, if it's all right. Thank you so much for
Thank you very
such an
much.
informative and enriching experience, sir. Thank you on behalf of BGN Group. Thank you so
It's my
much.
pleasure. It's my pleasure. And if anyone wants to learn more advanced clinical application of homeopathy, then they can join our advanced AACHC, Artis Advanced Clinical Homeopathy Center. We are running over here. We are also running in India, and we are providing a short-term training courses for them with nominal fees. We don't want to make money. We want to make homeopathy to spread all over the globe. That's our intention. Right? And thanks a lot,
Yes.
Dr. Ria. I really appreciate all your kind help, support, and everything. And thanks to BJ Nagas. Okay, thanks.
Anytime, sir.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
bye.